Thanks, everybody, for coming in for this session. Appreciate you being here. And we want to share with you the latest and greatest, newest APIs from PayPal, the invoicing APIs, and show you some possibilities of what we've done. My name is Sri Lakshmi Mudigere, and I'm the Senior Manager for Product Management, belonging to Merchant Solutions PayPal. And these APIs are something we've been working on for the last year, and we hope that it excites you to build more applications based off of this. I'm going to also have 3 panelists, and they're right here. They're going to actually come and present how they have integrated our APIs and what solutions they've built, very different use cases, so that you can think of how to use this product, and it's more show and tell. So we hope this excites you. I'm going to also cover some things about PayPal invoicing in general. We have a web product, and then take you through the evolution of APIs, and finally end with the use cases that you see. So today, right, small businesses and sole proprietors are really facing this problem, right? They're just drowning in paper invoices. I mean, as much automation exists in the industry, the paper invoicing is very manual and extremely time-consuming. It's error-prone, too, when people come back with, that's not what you billed me for, and making corrections. But in the end, the result really is you don't get paid as a business, right? And then that impacts the it causes a random ripple effect through how you run your business and whether you survive the business or not. And especially with a small business, the cash flow is so important for them, right? Most of the payments that they receive is also via check, right? And so that doesn't render itself to quick payments. And so you're really waiting for the check to come in. According to one of the studies that I saw, 90% of manual invoicing and manual payments are actually labor costs for businesses, right? So if you really eliminate the labor, you're going to have a much cleaner, smoother flow and more money coming into the business when it should be, so that you can grow your business up, right? So we want to really eliminate and tap into the 90% of the labor costs, eliminate paper invoicing. So we see this as a really transformational opportunity, and this slide has too many numbers, but I want 3 key takeaways for anybody who is going to look at this. Historically, eBay, PayPal has been in the e-commerce, merchandising, and payment space, but what we've found out from a Glenbrook analysis last year that we conducted was the invoicing, small business, and sole proprietor space is 13 times the size of the market opportunity for e-commerce, right? And that's huge. I mean, if you think about it, people who do e-commerce or payments, yes, they are online, but there's so many other businesses that invoice who no longer touch into e-commerce space, right? And so we can actually tap into getting paid via PayPal and electronic invoicing with that size of the market opportunity. And then what we found also was that 62% of the bills and invoices that get sent out are manual. Even if they are using a computer program, they're printing invoices, they're mailing it in US mail, and then it takes forever to reach the recipient, and then for them to really write a check. 2/3 of the invoices are actually sent out using paper and fax-based mechanism. So here is really the transformational opportunity that we want to address, and this is just the sizing of U.S. sole proprietor and small business. Obviously, this is big in the world's invoicing population. Now, sole proprietor and small business today are using our PayPal web invoicing solution. So for instance, I'm a wedding photographer. I go to PayPal.com, I go and I log into, I send out an invoice. I don't know how many of you know this, but I'm going to take you through what we just launched recently in our invoicing solution. So they use PayPal web invoicing to send out the low amount of invoices that they have to do, like 5 or 10, great. It renders itself manually. But if you're a developer and you're looking for tools to integrate automatically, then you can offer solutions to small businesses. And if you're a business solution provider who are offering different sets of adjacent solutions in the market, then you can add invoicing as a value-added service to the solutions that you offer with using the PayPal invoicing APIs. So we want to make sure that as a sole proprietor's business scales and they start issuing more invoices and they have a bigger, larger business, they can stick with PayPal and they can use our automated solutions by using and tapping into our APIs. So why do you want to do it, right? I mean, what's in it for you? As a developer, as a solution provider, the easiness of integration is something all my panelists are going to talk to you about how easy it was for them. We have all the documentation available on our website. We have a testing environment that you can actually test thoroughly before you go live. Then you can enhance your customer offering and pull in many different applications. So you can also take your solutions that you're using in different platforms, and you will see that one of the platform integration shows you how we've actually pulled in different solutions to bring in a value-added service to the customer. And then, of course, PayPal is a leader and trusted brand in global payments. And we also render you to the international and cross-border invoicing and payments opportunity. So that's the key for us to, for you to work with us and integrate with our solution. Like you saw in the keynotes this morning, we're launching bigger and better opportunities for businesses to just come into our X-Start Commerce platform. And as part of the PayPal offering, we are even going to have invoicing APIs there, work seamlessly with different solutions that you do. Plus, we're also thinking, you could do this on desktop applications, web, and mobile applications. This is our web invoicing product. I know you can't read it, but just the layout, right, shows you that it's a professional-looking invoice with the image, logo, layouts, the tax information, recipient, payer, emails, amounts, itemized invoice, and then discounts. So this is something you can go and use our web online product, and we just launched this in March. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, but we just launched this in March. And we've got great comments. Just one of them is the new invoicing system is amazing. Thank you. We asked you, listened, right? And we're driving a whole bunch of volume using this solution. But as part of the questions that we get, it's most of them being, how do I take it seamlessly, externalize this functionality, integrate with it, rather than come to your web solution, right? And that's where invoicing APIs come into play. The invoicing API is, we just launched it 2 weeks ago on our site, and this is really our public announcement of it. And it is a set of 8 APIs, a suite of 8 APIs. The first one being creating an invoice. You can send in all of the invoice information, detailed, professional-looking, full business invoice information, right from due dates to payment terms to items to taxes, and create an invoice on our system. A draft invoice gets created with this call. And then you can send out the invoice using the Send Invoice API. Why did we split? There were people who asked us, we have a business need for delivering invoices on the 1st and 15th of the month, so we don't want to do it one shot, and that's why we we created this send. And then create and send is for somebody who just automatically wants to send information, deliver the invoice to the payer. What it does do is that it creates invoice on our PayPal system, it sends a copy to the merchant, and then it delivers an invoice to the payer. You'll see more of the screenshots later. And then updating, obviously, for editing any invoice parameters. And then for canceling, for deleting, cancel invoices. Search Invoice API is something we get a lot of feedback about, is that I can do various things using search because I have an accounting package and I want to see year-end tax, how many invoices did I pay, or things like that, right? So we have various search parameters. You should check it out. It's available in Search Invoice API. And then Get Invoice API is more for a CRM type use case where people are having their systems integrate with this for answering customer calls. And again, you don't log into PayPal. You just use APIs to integrate with your existing solutions so that you can seamlessly get this functionality. Mark Invoices Paid is a different invoice API, which is essentially to get closure on a invoice payment that you did not receive using PayPal, right? I mean, we know that we cannot tap into 100% of paper check payments. So we're going to allow people to use this API to say, I received a check payment, I'm going to mark it as paid, and then I get a closure so that it's not a pending invoice in the system, and then you have to tweak it. Right? So in all, what this does is really gets invoices into PayPal system so that you get a one-stop invoice to payment integration using PayPal APIs. It's based off of Adaptive Platform. If any of you are familiar with integrating adaptive accounts or adaptive payments APIs, this is a cakewalk, is what I've heard. We also have third-party permissions integration. So for instance, a merchant can offload all of the invoicing responsibilities to a partner and say, you invoice on my behalf. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. We actually have a platform permissioning service, which is API-based, that people can tap into. And we've added invoicing as a group to it so that a merchant can just offer, grant that permission. And they have all the same features as our adaptive APIs, security, token-based authentication. We also publish all the interfaces on X.com. There is no fee to integrate invoicing APIs. So the merchant only pays when they get payment, and it's on the payment, the normal PayPal transaction fees apply. So you can send any number of invoices with integrating this for no cost. And we go through the standard website payment standard, which is allowing anybody to pay using credit cards, debit cards, and the usual PayPal payment mechanisms. We also, the receivers pays just the regular fee. Of course, there's cross-border fee that applies. Here's a workflow, the merchant server calls a create invoice, in this case, just to create the invoice on PayPal service system. The response is received, and we send back an invoice ID and a URL that you can use to actually view the invoice. And then they send back a request to us with using send request when they want to actually deliver it to the payer, which time we send a response back. We deliver an invoice copy to the merchant so that they know what they sent out. We also allow for certain extra things like merchant can make notes that the payer cannot see. Their systems, if they want to integrate with that. And then we send, on a send invoice request, we send an email notification to the payer powered by PayPal, but branded as the logo of the with the logo of the merchant to say you've received an invoice with an invoice summary right in the email and a pay button. And then the payment process happens when the payer clicks the pay button and goes through the payment flows. They can view the full invoice. So here's a third-party workflow. The only change here is that a one-time operation where a merchant is actually giving permissions to the partner to integrate and to use and act on their behalf to collect all the, to send out invoices. So this is how a merchant experience looks like. I know you can't read it, but overall, right, there's like a logo and branding, and there is an email that comes to the merchant, says, you've just sent an invoice. Here is the summary of the invoice so that it's for your records and reconciliation. And we have a full invoice management available on the website. So a merchant who's created invoice on the web or using our API call can log in and essentially check the status. There's multiple filters available for overdue invoices or paid, or filtering or sorting using who you sent it to. So very user-friendly features there. And then there's invoice details that look like the professional-looking invoice, where we also have some buttons where you can remind the payer that, oh, they have not received the payment, so automatic reminders right there, and invoice management. And then this is the invoice email a payer receives. Or if they're already a PayPal account holder, then they can go to the accounts overview and they will see that they've just received a bill. So either place, they can click on the payment and go through the payment flow using, viewing the full invoice, reviewing it, and paying. So here's a payment confirmation. We actually send back to the merchant who you got paid from, what's their name, what's their email, and their particulars. That way they can actually reconcile from the start to the end the whole cycle of who paid, who got sent. And we have also integrated this product with instant payment notifications. So whenever that invoice actually gets paid, you can tap into the IPN and figure out that that got paid, and then you can update your systems. How do you get started? So we have all the information available on x.com site, and we have a product section called Invoicing APIs. You see the related information, a blog link, a documentation, SDKs, and all instructions. And when you submit your application for integrating with the APIs, you can just choose invoicing, and all you need is a app ID, which is the way you do business with Adaptive Platform. So just a valid app ID will take you through using this product. So now I want to actually do the interesting stuff of showing how the customers have actually integrated. And I call upon John, CEO and founder of Cloud Conversion, and he offers cloud solutions to transform B2B and B2C on Salesforce. Good. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Sri. So like Sri just said, I'm the CEO of Cloud Conversion, and we really focus on building Salesforce.com applications with a main focus on e-commerce, but we also use Salesforce to manage all of our sales and marketing. And so I'm actually really, really excited about the invoicing APIs. I've been working with Sri for about a year to make sure that all the functionality that we need in the APIs is available to, to us as developers. And the use case I'm going to walk you through here is Skull Candy. They're one of our customers. They use Salesforce to manage all their customer service in their call centers. And the video is actually running, but I'm actually talking on the video, but it's turned down. But as soon as it starts running, I'll sort of walk you through it. But basically the use case is John Donahoe bought these headphones, and he realized that they're not going to arrive in time. So this is the Salesforce account that the call center rep is. So basically John's calling into the call center. It does a screen pop of his name. We can see all of his order information. We can answer the phone call. And we can see that he bought these headphones, but he didn't pay for overnight shipping because it's his son's birthday and he needs them overnighted. So what we're going to do, we obviously could take a credit card, but there's actually a lot of call centers that don't really want their call center reps taking credit cards over the phone. So we're actually just going to send him an invoice. And I think where this gets really, really powerful is you can build a lot of automation around these APIs. And so basically we just sent the invoice. So there's our invoice ID that we came back from PayPal. And then there's a payment detail. We can actually see all the payments that are coming in as well as all the invoices and then the invoice status. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to PayPal. This is running on the sandbox. You can do all the testing in the sandbox here. And we can basically see that this invoice was sent. And we can see in the merchant's account that we sent this invoice. So we're going to go ahead and pay the invoice. So the invoice has been paid, or I guess we're still paying. So back inside Salesforce, there's actually a notification that notifies us that the invoice has been paid. So if we refresh the screen here, we can basically see that this invoice has been paid. And one of the cool things is this is actually integrated into Magento's APIs. So we could actually put an order on hold so that it's not fulfilled with like ground shipping. And then we could basically update the order and say, okay, this needs to be expedited shipping because they paid the extra $25 for overnight shipping. So, I mean, I'm really, really excited about the invoicing APIs. This is kind of obviously a B2C example. But I think the real opportunity, and if anybody wants to come talk to me afterwards, I've got lots of ideas on how you can make a lot of money with this. I mean, there's literally 100,000 customers that could use a Salesforce PayPal integration, and I just need help marketing and selling it. So.
Thank you, John. So now we move on to the next integration, which is a desktop app integration between QuickBooks and PayPal invoicing and payments, plus reconciliation. And I invite Roger Bass, CEO and founder of Traxion, to take us through the use case.
Oh, actually, I was going to talk to the slide for a moment, actually.
Okay, sorry.
Can we go back?
Yeah, I think it started. Yeah.
So you'll just press the button too.
Sure.
Okay. Right. Thanks everyone for listening. As Sri said, I'm Roger Bass, founder and CEO of Traxion. We're focused on making integration easy with a particular focus on connecting up with QuickBooks. And of course, a lot of small businesses use QuickBooks and a lot of small businesses use PayPal. So right now, the customer problem is if you're using both systems, if you really want to get paid by PayPal, but use QuickBooks for your invoicing, there's quite a lot of manual data entry involved. It's generally a pretty clunky experience. Two different ways a business might do that. Either, as Sri was saying, you're using the web form on PayPal to create and send invoices, but then need to go and enter those into QuickBooks after the fact. Or if you're creating invoices in QuickBooks, the PayPal actually already has a small plugin for sending invoices, but that's somewhat clunky. You can send them one at a time, not very flexible, and also doesn't do anything with the payments afterwards. So our solution, as you'll see in just a moment, is it's about streamlining the whole invoice creation, delivery, through payment, and then reconciliation of payment back into QuickBooks afterwards. So let's roll the demo. Great, there we go. Yeah, so this will start in just a moment. So this is, again, a recorded video of a live demo. So we'll switch over here to QuickBooks. We're looking at the customer center in QuickBooks, if you're familiar with it. And you can see here for this particular customer, Roger Bass, by coincidence, we had a list of invoices. So we'll create a new one here. This is invoice number 40. You can see up in the top. We'll select an item. We're going to bill for on this invoice, a T-shirt. We'll sell one of those for the bargain price of 50 cents. And then we go and save and close that invoice to save it in QuickBooks, and you can now see that in the list in the customer center that we just added. Down in the system tray here now, and it cuts off a little bit on the screen here, the Traxion desktop software is running in the system tray. Just clicked send to pull up a list of all of the available invoices for sending, including the new one we just created that you can see here. So you can send a whole batch or just one. We'll just send the one invoice on this occasion. We click send, and that's now sent up to the Traxion service and through that using the PayPal APIs. So we'll switch over here to an email account. It actually, as you know, email takes a few minutes, so I'm continuing here. We'll look at this with actually a different invoice number that already arrived. So invoice number 39, you see, as Sri showed you earlier, some summary details of the invoice with a link to view and pay it. So we'll click that now and go over, and we see here, again, those invoice details with the line item and a link to pay that at the bottom. So this is actually here on the live system, so we're logging in to make a real payment. We'll log in, and then via the standard web payments, PayPal web payments process, there's one more click, I think, to pay that now at the bottom. So as you saw before, what's happening is that payment is now processed. There's also a notification via IPN that's triggered back to the Traxion system, and then in sort of near real time, so within a minute or so, that payment notification will be getting downloaded and automatically applied to the invoice in QuickBooks here. So we'll actually see that in the next few seconds as we go on, but just while we're waiting for that, I'll go and show you what that looks like in QuickBooks when a payment's received. You can actually see here in the list there are a bunch of invoice numbers and also a couple of payments. You can probably just see there's a slightly longer reference number for the payments. But when you bring up an invoice in QuickBooks that has a payment applied, you can see it has that stamp there that's showing that it's paid. You can also, in QuickBooks, open the actual payment transaction itself, which shows you some of the detail about what invoice that payment was applied against. So the specific, what invoice that payment was applied against. So that's basically what the process looks like in QuickBooks. I was showing you that there with some earlier invoices, and we'll see here just in the next few seconds, I think, the payment that we just processed for that invoice 39 coming in. So that one in QuickBooks I hadn't opened here. It's still unpaid, and if you just saw just now, you saw if you were watching, there was a new transaction, so the payment getting added in the customer list, and also a little notification popping up at the bottom here. So if we open up that invoice 39 now, you can see that within a minute or so from the payment, it's now marked as reconciled in QuickBooks. So that's the demo. Again, just to talk for a moment on the experience of why Traxion worked with the PayPal APIs here. As Sri had said, it's a really easy integration process. Took just a day or so of development working with that to get it connected. The real benefits for us of using the API really comes down to delivery, presentation, and integration of the invoicing experience. So delivery, just in terms of getting nicely formatted emails out with a trusted brand, making sure that those are delivered without us having to worry about spam filter issues, presentation of that both kind of on a web page, but also in particular in the recipient's PayPal account, if they're a PayPal user. And then lastly, as Sri mentioned, the integration, that things like the invoice number comes back in with the payment, which is important, in particular in this context, for reconciliation against the invoices. So that's what we did. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Roger. Now I call upon John Weaver, CEO and founder of Varsity Software. And he's got a cool use case where he's doing in-app collection for university online events ticketing, and it's a SaaS application integration.
Good afternoon. My name is John Weaver, and I'm the founder and CEO of Varsity Software. And let's talk about integrating the API with your software solution. So let's talk about API integration within your application by looking at our new software as a service solution called Calendar. Well, what is Calendar? Calendar is an event management platform which is ideal for organizations like sports leagues, which have hundreds of events per year. Calendar will be launching in November 2011. Just go to www.calendar.com and get started using Calendar in seconds. Well, what can the platform do? Calendar was built from the ground up to help promote events and increase ticket sales. Calendar leverages the social graph and has deep integration with Facebook. Event promoters gain increased event visibility for selling tickets, which is facilitated by PayPal. For example, let's look at the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, an NCAA Division II conference which sponsors over 800 intercollegiate events per year. An organization like the NCAA Division II conference, the SIAC, can promote new events with just a few clicks. They can import existing events via a spreadsheet or complete a simple form to add a new event to Calendar. Additional options include specifying an event image, uploading attachments, and designating keywords to facilitate search. Once added, the event is viewable throughout the Calendar platform using our JavaScript-based widget, which increases the reach of potential ticket sales. Most importantly, Calendar allows us, the software developer, to get paid fast because we leverage the PayPal invoicing API. We have completely automated the customer invoicing process. Utilizing the PayPal API, Calendar automatically generates invoices on a nightly basis. Customers can review invoice status right here in the control panel, and PayPal handles the entire invoice processing operation, including sending reminders and tracking payments. When the invoice is paid, Calendar receives an IPN notification and the control panel is updated. The customer invoice is paid, status is updated, and we've got money in the bank. Life is good. When we architected the Calendar platform, we quickly determined the need for a robust invoicing solution that ensured users of our application would be promptly billed and we would be promptly paid. We debated coding our own application. However, PayPal's invoicing API provided everything we needed for professional invoicing. One of our primary requirements was scalability, because we hope to be generating thousands of invoices daily. Using the Create and Send invoice endpoint, we are able to generate multiple invoices for multiple customers. PayPal automatically notifies the recipient of the invoice via email and facilitates payment with a PayPal account. Once an invoice is paid, Calendar receives an IPN notification containing the transaction details. Those details are stored in our database and displayed to the customer via our control panel. We built our entire billing operation around the PayPal invoicing API. It was fairly simple to develop the integration points. The online documentation for the API is quite good, and there are code samples available for different platforms. Additionally, the user community at X.Commerce is very knowledgeable and can be easily tapped for assistance and guidance. The goal of Varsity Software as a company is to develop quality software solutions, not to be bill collectors. Using the PayPal invoicing API has made it easy for us to offer our customers a transparent billing solution, and hopefully it will enable us to get paid fast. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. So as you saw, there are 3 different use cases of how people are using invoicing APIs and integrating. I also want to give a shout out to Think Tank from Australia. Is Stephen Cooper here? Okay, so he's in the conference, but I guess he's in another session. But they are using the APIs for online gym memberships in Australia. And then I would like to give a shout out to Novelina Nursalim there from Drive Dev, and they have developed a mobile application that's calling our APIs to be able to invoice on your mobile phone. Linked Nets, Pratima, she's not here, but they are trying to use the APIs for online association fees, dues, and memberships, as well as events invoicing. So these are all the people that I know of currently actively working to integrate and use it as a solution for them. So as John mentioned, we have enormous resources on our website. We have a clean documentation on the calls, the responses, the error messages, SDKs. We have the WSDL available on paypal.com. So please use it. Send us your feedback. And we started with a paper invoice problem, and we think that we've tackled this well, and at the end of using this and easing your business processes, we wish that you will end up with a clean desk and environmentally friendly invoicing system, which is offering you immediate and fast payments. And from a Gartner estimate recently that I read, it said that usually when you move to electronic invoicing and payments, you will get 50% cost reduction in terms of your manual processing values. And one of the studies they did said that 3% reduction in operating expenses attained a 30% increase in profit. And so, this is for good. Please send us your feedback to invoicingapi@paypal.com, and we are very eager to know more about your experiences using, and also your requests in terms of upgrading and offering, better possibilities with this. Before I forget, there's shrugs on the table, so please speak up. But now I open it up to questions for the panel. Is there a mic? Okay. Is there a mic? First row.
We got one with Twitter.
Okay, let's finish that. Yeah, I think there's somebody monitoring.
Is the integration between PayPal and QuickBooks, is that QuickBooks, or QuickBooks Online, or what variations, what products?
We do support QuickBooks Online as well.
Okay. Thanks.
There is a question here on Twitter. Can a PayPal invoicing solution handle... you need to put your...
Sorry. Well, I'll just read it since I've got it here. Can a PayPal invoicing solution handle vendors who require paper invoices?
Yes, I mean, you can always print the invoice, and that becomes your paper invoice, but at least you have electronic tracking from invoice to payment using this. You could also attach, print the invoice and attach it if you're selling products. If you want to attach the invoice, you can, of course.
And there's also the endpoint, mark invoices paid,
yes,
so that you can use that for tracking historical purposes.
Absolutely, yes. And even if you get check payments, then you can mark it so that you reconciled it. Somebody was tracking questions. Randy.
Can the API be used in the case where the customer is not known before the invoice goes out?
The customer is not known. You mean the recipient of the invoice? Right. We require a payer's email ID, but they don't necessarily need to have a PayPal account. Right? They can be fresh, what we call it as guest accounts. They can come and pay, but you got to know an email endpoint to deliver the electronic invoice to. Yeah. Unless you use our web solution and you just kind of save it as a template, but what are you going to do with not knowing who to deliver an invoice to?
There's more of the question about late binding, like you don't know up front, but you're going to know later, so you want to create the placeholder and then bind it up later.
Yeah.
The second was, what's the expected time between a payment and a notification in experience and in desire?
Let people who use IPNs answer that.
Sure. The notification is pretty much real time. I mean, it's sort of within a few seconds. I mean, not enough that we've cared about measuring it. It's pretty darn close to real time.
And I'd like to mention that you don't necessarily only have to rely on IPNs, because you also have, for example, a get invoice details or a search invoices call that you can get back status to, right? I mean, we normally don't recommend you only use IPNs, right? But you can make this API call on your, wherever your process is and get the status anyway.
Is there a way to automatically send invoices to customers based on their previous purchases?
Previous purchases. That depends on your backend integration, right? I mean, when do you want to trigger the call, and what logic do you want to use it?
What kind of one?
So with Salesforce, we could do that in about 5 minutes, and you can actually build it into workflow. So you could basically say everybody who, like a common example would be like a pet supply company or like a cosmetics. Like you want to do like sort of recurring invoicing. So every 30 days you want to send them an invoice, and and then basically bill them. And then what's cool is once they pay it, you could trigger an order. So yeah, it's really that's what I was kind of talking about with automation. Is the APIs allow you to do some really amazing stuff with automating invoices being sent out.
We've coded a nightly job that will generate invoices for our customers. So using the API, we can create and send those invoices every night.
But I don't want it to look like an invoice. I want it to be kind of like an invite, because some customers they don't like to receive invoices without asking for it. So I'm looking for a solution that would send some sort of an invite to the customer that, hey, 2 months ago you made this purchase. Now is a time that you could buy this item for a better price. That's the kind of a solution I'm looking for.
We allow certain customization of the invoice email, but we definitely want to keep the branding and the Powered by PayPal brand as well as the merchant's brand, and a consistent look and feel that adheres to PayPal standards. And so we do have certain restrictions in terms of what can be customized in that email right now.
And going back to Salesforce, what was it that you said it was? What part of Salesforce was it?
Well, Salesforce is a whole platform. So the reason that we're really excited about it is our customers can basically leverage the work that we did and pretty much do anything they want with sending invoices. It's really I think the really powerful thing is workflow. So you can basically build workflows around invoicing, and that's something that's like never been done before, unless you're like paying millions of dollars to Oracle. And I'm sure it probably doesn't work that well even if you are. But going back to your other question was, I think it wouldn't really be an invoice. It would be like an opportunity to have an invoice created for you, and like that kind of thing. You could trigger an email saying, hey, we notice you haven't been back. We've got some great offers for you. Maybe click on these links if you're interested, and that could even trigger an invoice being sent. So you're not actually sending an invoice. You're like almost soliciting their business via like a marketing type transaction. But it's all about a platform, right? The invoicing allows you to build your own custom, workflows around the invoicing process.
Thank you.
And this wasn't really mentioned in anybody's presentation, but there's a WSDL, and so if you're like a Java programmer, you can basically consume that WSDL, and then you can literally be making calls against that in like 5 minutes. And so the WSDL is actually is a doc literal wrapped, so it's very easy to consume. And literally like you can build these integrations in like hours, and it's pretty powerful stuff to be able to get something up and running really quickly and not have to worry about all the technical details of writing XML or whatever.
And as Sri mentioned earlier, there are code samples available online. We happen to be a Microsoft shop, so we use .NET, but PHP samples and everything else is available online.
Yeah, we have Java, PHP, .NET, all available and posted on the site. And the WSDL's link URL is svcs.paypal.com/invoice_WSDL. Any other questions? Well, hope you got some new information out of the newest product that we've launched, and I hope that you will have use cases that will actually use it and also offer us feedback about this. Please collect some of the material that we have, useful stuff, and thank you all for coming. If you want to, if you have any other further questions or you want to see, the panel will be here available for some more time, and you can reach out. Thanks.